day last of all these sessions, and we're gonna start out with a little review today of the solutions and dilutions, because it's such an important piece and skill to employability by students, and just understanding and being able to get through science and do science. So Elizabeth's going to run through a little review on that and just tell you a neat little story, because she's full of them, on how it's benefited her students as well for summer internships. And then Dr. Jonna Temenoff will be joining us, and she'll be speaking on cell manufacturing technologies. Then we'll come back. We're staying in this main group the whole time, but we'll come back as a main group and talk about the implementation plan a little bit. Hear from the master instructors, if they'd like to, about recommendations for implementing. And then we're just gonna have work time, and you can leave your computer on mute if you want, or you can leave it off of mute, and just so that you can throw out a comment or a question to the whole group. And if we want to break out into rooms, we have rooms that are empty that we can break out into if we have groups that want to, but otherwise, I think it kind of works best to stay within the whole group. So, Elizabeth, solutions and dilutions.
Oh, hello, welcome back. Hey, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to try something. Oh, I can't share yet. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I'm going to share and we'll get started. Let's see. Okay. So my first question for all the teachers is, what's the difference here? You got a jug of orange juice and you got some frozen orange juice. Does anybody want to unmic and tell us the difference? Come on.
Yeah.
The amount of water in there.
The amount of water. Patty wins the prize. Woo, Patty.
We have prizes. If we need to start giving them out now, we can. But
Patty gets the best prize. She gets the best prize because going first is the worst. So good job, Patty. It's the amount of water. And that is all this formula is used for, is just to add water. So when we're shipping a big jug of water, super expensive. When we're shipping a little tiny concentration, pretty cheap. And if you want to save money in your classroom, don't order different dilutions. Order a very high concentrate and then step it out as you need it. So this is the formula we're going to use. And I did this example today after school. I've done this with students before. We just take a drop of food coloring and we just keep adding water. And as you can tell, it just gets more and more diluted. But that's something that kids can do, and you can you just ask them, what does this mean? And I would get them to get to the words dilution. I'd let them get to the words less concentrated. I would keep probing them along until they figured out what this is. And I do this before I show the formula, just to say how we can get a less amount. And they won't always use the words concentrations and dilutions, but you can step them out to that with a little bit of colored water and some containers. And yellow works the best. The red, this is really hard to dilute. You need a huge amount of water to dilute the red. All right, next one. So I'm going to share with you guys how you can do this electronically if your students are online. So I'm going to use this tablet. You've got a picture of the tablet that I'm using. I'm also going to use, when I record for my students, because I don't like to turn around and do the math on the board. I'll do it a couple times, but I also like to put out recordings of the math. And then the kids can watch me as many times as they need to. And I'll put out recordings of test answers. I'll work the test math problem, and then after the test, release it. And to do that, my students, we're a Google school, so I use Screencastify. I've got a link on here to Screencastify. I don't work for them, but you can record your screen, and you can use this tablet and make short videos. And I have 2 videos for you guys if you want to watch them, of videos I released to my students as a review that they could go back and look at. All right, so we're going live, and I've never done this before because my kids are face to face. I do this on my own private time. So here we go. Oh, nope. Okay. So what I do with my fancy tablet is, in my little stylus pen, is I will write it. I'll go into Paint. and I will write it out. And before I make my video, I will write out everything, and then I will hit the undo, 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 undo button. That way I can talk and explain and teach. And then you can hit redo as you teach. So that's just a trick I have used to make short videos. So this is our first formula. This is something we did last week. We had to take a 70% solution and make a 5% solution. So the formula, and I didn't write the formula, so I'll come down here and write it, is C1V1 equals C2V2. And those stand for concentration and volume. So I'll stop and ask my kids, you know, this is after the orange juice example, and hopefully nobody says, when I'm talking about OJ, nobody says he's guilty or brings that up. But if, you know, orange juice is a good one. Also do money with orange juice, like how much it costs, like you're paying for water. But anyway, so you tie the orange juice back to this formula, and we talk about concentrate, and hopefully they've seen the word concentrate on orange juice. And C1 is what you start with. So we ask the kids, what does the 1 probably stand for? And they usually come up with the conclusion it's what we start with. The 2 is what we end with, and we want to end with a 5% solution. We started with a 70% solution. Now this 100 milliliters, that's whatever you need to make. If you need to make more, this is the volume you need to make. So I'm going to hit undo here because I don't need the formula. Let's see. And to solve this, I'm just going to isolate my variable. So I tell the kids, you know, we're going to, and ask them what I need to do to isolate the variable. The kids usually can come up with this. And if I do it to one side, I've got to do it to the other side. And then my cross out, my units are going to cross out. And then it just becomes a simple 5 times 100 divided by 70. And it was 7.14 milliliters. Now, if I was doing this with kids, I would definitely open my calculator on the side, and I would show the kids every single step I'm doing on a calculator. But I'm going to let y'all trust me today with the math. So then I say, well, now we know we only need to use 7 milliliters of the 70%. And I would draw a graduated cylinder. I'm really a good drawer. And then I would drop that 7 milliliters of the 91% ISO. Oh, 70%, sorry. 70% ISO in there. And now I've got to fill it up. We go back and I'm like, what did they add to the orange juice? And they're like, water. I'm like, yep. So then I would add in 92 milliliters of 92 point something. I don't know. I did my math earlier of distilled water. Oh, this is really messy. Live's not good. So that's one example. And then I'm going to hit clear. Let's see, menu, new, save, don't save. So then I'm going to start fresh, and I can do one more, and then maybe some of y'all can participate. They asked me to do the formulas that we did last week. So last week, again, they sent you in the mail 70%. And that was my C1. So I'll come up here and I'll say that was C1. And I don't know how much of that I needed to use. I know I needed to dilute it. And they asked me last week to make a 25% solution. So that's what my concentration I need to end with. And this number can change. I picked 100 milliliters because that's the graduated cylinder that they sent to y'all. And then I just, again, isolate for my variables. And if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. And I always use the same language with the kids so that hopefully it becomes just a standard, the way they set up the formula. And then it's going to be 35.71 milliliters of 70% ISO is going to go into my graduated cylinder. And then I'm going to top it up with water. And then I have made a 25% solution. Okay, so now we'll go back here to my PowerPoint. So that was going live. And they asked me, not my idea, for you guys to do some practice problems. So here's your practice problem. And she said she has prizes. We're hoping for Longhorn gift certificates.
Think Equipment Depot prizes.
Depot, gel electrophoresis chambers. No. All right, she's going to give you something. It might be another graduated cylinder, but let's see if you can work this problem. I don't have a clock.
No clock.
No clock. If you want to put your answers in the chat, you can do that. And Kristen, I'm going to leave it up to you. You're the prize. You know, Patty's already won. Patty's going to go for 2-0 though. She's going to kill us all. Good. I see 5 in the chat. I'm not going to open the chat. All right, so here's the answer. And I worked it out with my little ink pad again. And so your answer is 16.48. Do we have any winners?
We have 5 winners.
Yes.
5 participants.
So
5
that means they probably I probably needed a pre-test. They probably could have pre-tested out of this.
Yes. Robert raised his hand very quickly.
Yeah, he's all right. So good. And then the last problem was here. This was the other problem I was given to ask y'all to do. And 91 comes on the shelf too. So 70 and 91 are good ones to use because you can buy them at the grocery store. So here's your second chance for a prize. We got winners. I'm ready to reveal. Am I going too fast? "22 milliliters, give or take." I rounded up. I think it was 0.97 or something. Rounded up. So
Awesome. We have more winners.
more. Yay. Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to hit stop share. And then you wanted me to share with you how this has worked in my classroom. I have a chemical cabinet over here. Nope. Well, I don't know if y'all can see it. It's behind the aquarium. And my kids go and get their own solutions. And nothing in my room is locked. And they have to make their own buffers, their own chemicals. And they take a lot of little tests for me before they do that. So I'll put out a lot of little videos, a lot of little practice problems. And I give them a lot of Google form tests to make sure they're good with the math. And then my kids make their own solutions, and they really get good at this, and they really take ownership of it. And where this has paid huge dividends for my students is we have a relationship with Georgia College where they get to spend summers doing research, but they have to apply. And it's through a program called SEED, and it applies to rural kids. It's for impoverished kids, and it's a nationwide program, and it's called SEED. And they pay the kids a couple $1,000s to work on a research project, and it's always chemistry. SEED is chemistry. And so Georgia College gets funding through that, and then they interview students. And they interview students from all over the region for this. And my students, I have not had a student fail in the interview yet. All of my students have always been selected, and this is always the problem they have to do. They always want them to make their own stock solutions. And then connecting to chromatography last week with the little set packs that you used. Chromatography is something that I spend a lot of time on in my classroom, and it's a real simple, but it's got a lot. We did not even get into teaching the polarities of the chromatography, and there's all kinds of different, but I spend a lot of time on chromatography with my students. And I've had many students, not many, well, almost all of them that have chosen to do this summer program have gotten to use gas chromatography. And that's been a really good summer project for them. A lot of them have done vapes or paint, but they're separating the chemicals using the gas chromatography. And that machine is tens of thousands of dollars. But and we're the only school that she has allowed high school students to touch that machine. She's even said that some of her undergrads are not allowed to touch it because they don't understand the parts of a solution. They don't understand chromatography. And she's always so impressed at how my kids come in with these chromatography skills. And I don't have this expensive stuff. What I'm teaching my kids on is that cheap stuff that y'all are learning on too. And there's some other like there's some more different columns, but all of them are less than $10. They're all reusable. And so we use different types of columns in my classroom. But once they learn that basic skill, I have found they have applied it in a higher level and been successful with it. So we good, Kristen?
That's perfect. Does anybody have any questions for Elizabeth?
I may have missed this. I had some volume issues earlier. So what courses does Elizabeth teach?
Well, I did biology for 20 years and I won't make them raise their hand, but some of my students are in here. No. But now I teach, and I've done the AP biology. I've done a lot. I've done everything you can imagine, zoology, anatomy, but currently I'm teaching biotechnology and a research class. So that's what I do all day now. Love it.
Anyone else? All right.